Hello, Waypoint friends. This is Tim Cole, and I'm the director at Waypoint Church Partners. And we're glad that you're jumping into a pop-up webinar today, not one that was scheduled, but we're doing it just to give you some information that we think could be really valuable to your church. And the topic is about the Employee Retention Credit, the ERC. And you may have been receiving notices over the last couple of months via email. I'm even receiving them in my mailbox about, hey, let us help you apply for the ERC. And early on, I was pretty skeptical about all those notices and communications. But then one of our church planters in our oversight team meeting, and so if you're a Waypoint partner, you need to know that we oversee our church plants until they have elders. And so we have a team that come around the church planter to help him lead well. But in his oversight team, he reported that they had gone through the process of applying for, doing the paperwork for the Employee Retention Credit, the ERC, which is only loosely related to the PPP, the Payroll Protection something, I don't remember what the third P was, but the PPP. And so it made me think, and he received a pretty good, healthy chunk of money. So I contacted Aaron Raines, who's our financial administrator at Waypoint, and said, hey, would you look into this and talk with the person at this church plant that was delegated the responsibility to work through all the paperwork for that, find out how it worked and see if we could qualified to apply as well. And so today I just want to interview, or actually have Aaron just tell the story of Waypoint investigating that a little bit, finding out that we could apply and qualify, and how that process has gone so far. We haven't received our funds yet, but we have been notified that the funds are coming. And so we as soon as I received that, I thought, we need to share this story with other churches and partners in the region, that they might have confidence to think, you know what, maybe we should apply as a church as well. So Aaron, why don't you pick up the baton from there and just talk about how the process went from that first email that I sent you saying, hey, would you look into the ERC?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. To echo what you've just told everyone, the Employee Retention Credit, the ERC, has, for some churches, been a lucrative payroll tax credit for qualified wages that your church paid to employees in 2020 and 2021. Of course, this is all in light of the COVID-19 pandemic is the context here. So Waypoint did recently complete this application process, and Waypoint will benefit from this sort of refund opportunity. So whether your church utilizes their own CPA or works with an outside firm like we did, and we're happy to share details of our process with your church if you're interested. The dates in question were March 2020 through September 2021, and your accountant will want to collect information about your payroll and number of employees in those months. They will need your quarterly filed 941s in those years. And they have questions about your giving over that period versus giving prior to that period. And they will ask questions like, was your church or organization under any mandates as a nonprofit where you were told you had to close or you had capacity limits? So be ready to answer questions like that. If you applied for the PPP and if you applied for forgiveness, they need to know that. So just be prepared with that kind of information to help the people crunching your numbers. They will work the data. You don't do that. And they will let you know if you qualify for the Employee Retention Credit and for how much. The first deadline we know about is April 15th, 2024. So we're thinking, why not make this a summer project for your church or a rainy day project and just find out if your church could benefit.
All right, so we're talking about an 18-month window of time during COVID. And so I remember you sending me back kind of a questionnaire about, so how was Waypoint negatively affected to do our job. And so I had to think about it a little bit. Well, our staff, our staff gets to meet with preachers and ministry staff, church leaders, churches every week, and for quite a long time, we were not able to go do our job. We weren't able to visit churches on Sunday. Our annual board of directors retreat in February wasn't canceled, but we had to go online. Our staff retreat was canceled. And so we just itemized all these ways that the way we do business was negatively affected because of the mandated COVID restrictions from the states where we operate. And so that would be kind of the things. And of course, we're a nonprofit, a faith-based nonprofit, but not a church. But a church would have to be able to itemize. Is that what you're saying about here's the kinds of ways that your church was negatively affected from doing business, and particularly your church staff, your employees were not able to do their jobs as usual. Is that kind of how you're describing that?
Exactly. I think the more information you can provide to that effect will just help them with whatever their magic formula is, to show that we were negatively affected by government mandates that either closed our doors or limited our person capacity, our ministry capacity. And you're also showing at the same time we had employees during this time that we continued to pay, and now the IRS is willing to refund you for some of those costs.
So really what they're giving you credit for, it's a credit for keeping your employees employed in spite of the COVID mandated restrictions. And so that the COVID mandates affected your business. And so we're going to be willing to give you a credit for keeping your employees employed during this 18-month window in spite of the government mandated restrictions. And so from my understanding, it's money that's been allocated by the government, and so they need to spend it. And so they're kind of asking the people to apply for it because they need to give the money away. And so how did you your conversations with the group? So tell us a little bit about the group that you worked with, how your interaction with them went, and so on.
Yes, and I agree. First of all, churches should be the ones applying for this money and getting this money. It's open to nonprofit organizations in general. Churches should apply to it and just see what happens. Once your bookkeeper or treasurer submits those required documents, not much more time is required on the part of your staff. It all is kind of up to your CPA or the firm that you use. The firm we used took a fee from our refund before we're even going to receive it. So they offered either a 10% fee up front or 18% pay at the end option. We opted for 10% up front because it was money we had never seen before in the first place. So we didn't feel like we had anything to lose there. And another note, they are saying the refund checks may take 9 months to get to you. So this isn't like a fast cash operation, but it may well be worth it for your church. And we want it to help your church. Also, I just remembered the employee retention credit, if you receive funds for the ERC, it does not have to go back into payroll like the PPP did. It can, but it could also go to your missions and outreach budget or any special projects you've been thinking about or have coming up, or just knowing the bills will be paid for another period. There's no restrictions on how to spend the employee retention credit. So Waypoint and some of our partnering churches have used Adesso Capital, ADESSO capital.com, I think. And if you email DeeAnn Bennett, I think we can probably add her contact info to the show notes or the comments here. If you email DeeAnn, she is their senior ERC consultant. If you tell DeeAnn, our church wants to apply for the employee retention credit, Waypoint Church Partners sent us to you directly, DeeAnn will say, yep, I know exactly what you need. I have it right here. We will guide you every step of the way. You don't need to memorize anything. So we can attach her email here, I think, and her phone contact. I did warn her that we will be sending a lot of churches her way to go through this potentially worthwhile process, and they're ready.
All right. Well, yeah, we will put that in the show notes so that you can contact them. Of course, you can use any of these organizations. You can do the paperwork yourself, but there's these organizations out there like Adesso that is just saying, hey, let us help you. They take their commission either up front or on the back end, and we're happy to give it on the front end. It seems like one of the notifications that we got said it should take 4 to 5 months for us to receive our credit, where the fine print says as much as 9 months. And so I'm hoping we get the 4 or 5 month window, but it's not like you get money. But the good thing about it is it's a credit. It's not, originally the PPP was a loan that got forgiven. And so it was a loan through the Small Business Administration. And this is not that at all. This is a credit. And so it is not a loan that needs to be forgiven later or money that needs to be given back. It's a credit, like when you get a credit on your taxes when you fill out your taxes. And then if you use one of those tax groups like I do, filling out my taxes, they'll take their fee out at the end when I file. And that's what they're going to do, is our company's going to take their money out. We had to tell them which one we're going to do, and then they're going to get their money up front. So, and we're willing to pay them for the work that they did to get us the credit. If a church wants to know some kind of scope of this, just for a frame of reference, and the two are not linked, but for us, the ERC credit was about 1/3 of what we got for the PPP, and so roughly speaking, it's factored on the number of employees that you have, and how your organization was negatively affected during that time. And so I'm trying to think what other dynamics are in play for this. Aaron, I don't know if you've got any other thoughts. I agree with you that we ought to apply for it. Churches are thinking, should we apply for it or not? This money is going to be given away. They're begging people to apply for it. And there are groups out there that we may not agree with spiritually or morally or whatever, that are nonprofits, and they can receive the funds just like us. I'd rather every church in our region get those funds before other groups might apply that would have a different mission than we have. And so I would encourage you to apply for the funds, use an organization like the one we use, although there's several out there, and see if you apply, but it's likely that you will.
And small churches should apply, and big churches should apply. Any church should apply, and just see what happens. It was worth it for Waypoint, and a lot of our churches have already said it was worth it for them.
Yeah, and the good thing about a small church is the commission is a percentage. And so even if you're going to get a small credit, there's not this $1,000 fee up front, regardless of how big your credit is. It's just 10%. And so that says it's not going to hurt you even if you get a small credit. And so Aaron, thanks for jumping on the call here today, that we could record so that we could tell our partners that this has been a good thing for us, and we're looking forward to that. We want to encourage you to check it out. We will divulge, if you use the group in our show notes, Adesso, that they're willing to give Waypoint a referral fee. So when you contact them, if you would say, hey, Waypoint sent us your way, that Waypoint will get a small gift from them thanking us for the referral. And that would help Waypoint out by you doing that. So we want to encourage you. You can use anybody you want, but if you use the one that we use and that we were pleased with, that we get a little referral fee as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. So if you have any other questions before you would dive in, feel free to contact us, and we can tell you about how it's worked so far. And I'll direct you to Aaron. I just told Aaron, look into this, and all of a sudden the ball started rolling. So we're thankful that it worked for us, and we hope that it does for your church as well. So have a great day, and thanks for joining our pop-up webinar.